Okay, so herein lies the peace of God with Reverends Jacquelyn Eckert and Glen Ganaway. And I give the mic to Reverend Glen.
All righty, here we go.
Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Then in an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert, the President Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Go it!
And we gotta put that in there, don't we? Wee doggies! I'm telling you, we got a reputation now. Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God. My name is Reverend Glen Ganaway, your favorite anarchist preacher, and I am here with Jacquelyn Eckert, the profound Reverend and President of Awakening Together Sanctuary. We're so glad to be here. We do this every Friday at 8, live in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. We hope you can join us live, but if you're joining us on a taped version, we are so glad that you are here. Leave a comment and let us know what you think. How you doing tonight, Jacquelyn?
I'm great. I'm great. It's been a lovely day. It's the weather here is so nice today. It was nearly 60 degrees here today, which was a nice change.
Really?
I got out and got a little exercise.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. It's we're still in the 40s here, you know, still in the 40s here. But they promised that we're gonna break 50 next week in New York.
Yeah, good for you.
I know, break 50 degrees.
We got another snowstorm coming in, so
yeah. Oh, and I want to wish everybody a happy Persian New Year.
Well, of course.
Well. That's I live above a mosque, so there's it's Persian. So if things that we have, the courtyard is right out here. So if things get really noisy this weekend or this thing, it's Persian New Year. Just so happy Persian New Year, everybody. I can't say it properly. Nowruz Mubarak I think is how you say it. Nowruz Mubarak. But anyway, we're doing. Tell people what we're doing right this week, Jacquelyn.
Well, this week we are studying who are their pupils. Last week we did who are God's teachers from the Teacher's Manual from A Course in Miracles, and this week we've moved on to the next section. Who are their pupils?
It sounds logical, doesn't it? Yeah. Talk about teachers in the Manual for Teachers. The first thing she says is, "Who are you, and what is your role going to be in all of this?" And then she talks about the pupils. I remember being kind of really weird about this. It was like, ooh, the pupils, you know, because you hear students and everything. That pupil is such an old term. It kind of takes me out of, you know. I see that Home on the Prairie schoolhouse, you know,
Little House on the Prairie.
Little House on the Prairie. Yeah. I see the schoolhouse on Little House. When I think of a pupil or something like that, I don't know what my brain does to that. So, so it's been kind of interesting thinking about and working with the idea of who are the pupils in, you know, who are the pupils, and if I'm a teacher. And what we find out last week was we're all teachers, right?
And what we find out this week is the pupil, as soon as they decide they want to be a pupil, they're a teacher.
Yeah, which is really, really fun. I don't want to give away my big reveal, but I had a lot of fun.
Oh, sorry.
No. I was gonna, I was about to say my big, I really like the manual for teachers is one of the things I go to tell people on a regular basis is a very approachable, I think one of the most approachable way outside of the daily lessons themselves, a way to approach the concepts of A Course in Miracles. And that's why we're doing this, to say these are universal principles, these are universal concepts. They're couched in the Course in Miracles in a very specific way, but we're going to talk about them in the Course in Miracles in the way the Course in Miracles talks about it, because I think that they are really suited to a Western mind, and the way in which we swim in these metaphors and swim in this way of thinking. Our laws are based on this method and way of thinking and understanding the world that's been laid out since probably the Enlightenment and the Renaissance. So
Another enlightenment, not the one we always talk about.
Okay. yeah. The historically speaking, right? What is the Enlightenment of 14 to 16, something like that?
I didn't pass that part of the test. I don't know.
Okay, if you know, tell us. But anyway, so I really enjoyed working with the idea of I'm always teaching. So what is the lessons that I'm teaching? And to look and say, what am I, and working with it this week to say, so what am I trying to learn? Where am I still this student? Where am I still a student? Where can I honestly say, I'm in the schoolhouse. I'm in the desk in the school, the schoolhouse, and the school marm, is up there, because it's always a marm, isn't it?
Whatever that means.
I don't know. So, yeah, 1750 to 1789. Thank you very much. See, I was all right. I got the last part of it. I didn't get the first part of it. 17. So this idea of where am I, honestly saying, where am I a student? Where am I a pupil? Where can I honestly and ethically, or open in an open-hearted, soft way, I think about it, be a student or be a pupil to what is and what's happening. And we talked about last week, or this lesson, to be able to examine. I'm going to talk about this Sunday, actually. A plug for Sunday nights at 5. I'm going to be talking about the being diligent for this curriculum, having kind of a desire to know what reality is, a desire to interact with it, and it's almost like a choice or a lifestyle. I keep coming back to that, but it's like a choice or a lifestyle to say, I want this. I want to learn this. I'm not doing this. Isn't an accident. I'm not doing this. I'm also doing this to have fun, because joy, I want it to be fun. If this isn't fun, I'm probably not going to do it for very long. But I'm interested, once I accept that call, to say, who are you? Who was the teacher? Where am I? This has been a new thing for me to like flip this year. And Yolanda and I were just talking about this before class. Where am I actively seeking to know, to learn? And that's kind of a way of understanding a little bit about where to look for my shadow, about where to look for my trauma, about where to look for where I do things poorly, or the Buddhists say unskillfully.
Yeah. Sean and I were just talking about blind spots.
Blind spots.
Yeah, so it's where are my blind spots? Yeah.
How have you worked with this idea of a pupil or a student? Who are your pupils, Jacquelyn?
Well, they're right here now.
I know.
Actually, Shauna says she is. Thanks, Shauna. That's sweet. But let me say something. Then this is goofy. So you all forgive me.
I'm all for goofy.
Being goofy. Well, when you were just talking about pupils, I went, wait a minute. The pupil is the center of the eye.
Yeah.
And I just, and we talk about this false I that walks around, this imposter
Oh, yeah.
stuff. Anyway, so I'm done being goofy, but it was like, language so often folds in upon itself that way. You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Okay, so who are my pupils?
Well, how did you think about this week? How did you work with this concept this week?
Well, I don't know that I work with these things. I think they work on me. I think I work on them all week, and then when I open this up at the end of the week, I go, "Oh, that's what I've been doing all week." I will say that in my as it is class, there's another plug on Wednesdays at it's 3:00 on Wednesdays. 2. We don't know what time it is. Anyway, look on our program schedule.
Stick
For my
around.
program on Wednesday, I was guided to go back and listen to the very first homily I ever gave for Awakening Together, which was back in 2014. So it was a real opportunity. The guidance was so clear, and it was and then I played it in that program, and the guidance on that was so clear, but it was the fundamentals. What are the fundamentals of A Course in Miracles? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? You got to get that down before you can do anything else. And so I felt like I had a real revelation this week where I kind of like had strayed off the path a bit. Just got a little, things just get a little wonky in the mind, and then so I am back with gusto. Boy, am I glad. And Inner Wisdom gave me some very specific things, and I was going to share them with you. Inner Wisdom told me to quit judging everyone. Hey, there's a thought. And stop it right now. Inner Wisdom told me to notice how judgment feels in the throat, and that fear is also felt in the throat. Inner Wisdom told me that all comparison is judgment. Inner Wisdom told me that trust can be used as a mantra or a corrective thought. For example, I take that judgment back. I know that all is well. I don't need this to be any different. I don't need to manipulate the situation because I trust that all is well. Let's see. Inner Wisdom told me that fear is a lie told to sell loss, limitation, and trust. Excuse me, loss, limitation, and lack, and that trust is the antidote. And 2 more things Inner Wisdom told me in contemplation of all of this, and that is work is not the most important thing, and to remember to return to now. So and all of that was just very, very helpful. So I really feel like I am at the perfect place with these messages, right? Because this is a beginning, this manual for teachers, and it feels like there's a new beginning here. By the way, that's the name of that one of Tracy Chapman's albums, is A New Beginning.
New beginning. Yeah.
See how everything falls in on itself.
It's true. Well, because we're gonna there's a whole section. She ends up talking about time.
Yes, she does.
A lot in this section. It's like, what does pupils and learning and all this have to do about time? Which I thought was like kind of like a little bit of a left. It looked like a bit of a left turn, when she started out. But it's like, oh, it's important. That's really, really like those fundamentals that 4-step, the waltz, right, that foxtrot that we're dancing together with the pupil and the student. It was really nice. But I think it's your turn to read.
I think it is, and I've got to tell you, I'm really excited to hear what you have to say about this when I get done reading. So I'll read it really fast. No,
okay, and I'll read it really fast. I'll read my stuff really fast. We only have 5 paragraphs today, so it's a little not too bad.
Okay, so who are their pupils? Certain pupils have been assigned to each of God's teachers, and they will begin to look for him as soon as he has answered the call. They were chosen for him because the form of the universal curriculum that he will teach is best for them in view of their level of understanding. His pupils have been waiting for him, for his coming is certain. Again, it's only a matter of time. Once he has chosen to fulfill his role, they are ready to fulfill theirs. Time waits on his choice, but not whom he will serve. When he is ready to learn, the opportunities to teach will be provided for him. In order to understand the teaching learning plan of salvation, it is necessary to grasp the concept of time which the course sets forth. Atonement corrects illusions, not the truth. Therefore, it corrects what never was. Further, the plan for this correction was established and completed simultaneously, for the will of God is entirely apart from time. So is all reality being of him. The instant the idea of separation entered the mind of God's Son, in that same instant was God's answer given. In time, this happened very long ago. In reality, it never happened at all. The world of time is the world of illusion. What happened long ago seems to be happening now. Choices made long since appear to be open, yet to be made. What has been learned, what has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new thought, a fresh idea, a different approach. Because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose. And only then will you realize that it was always there. As the course emphasizes, you are not free to choose the curriculum or even the form in which you will learn it. You are free, however, to decide when you want to learn it. And as you accept it, it is already learned. Time really then goes backward to an instant so ancient that it is beyond all memory and past even the possibility of remembering. Yet because it is an instant that is relived again and again and still again, it seems to be now. And thus it is that pupil and teacher seem to come together in the present, finding each other as if they had not before. The pupil comes at the right time to the right place. This is inevitable because he made the right choice in that ancient instant, which he now relives. So has the teacher too made an inevitable choice out of an ancient past. God's will in everything, but seems to take time in the working out. What could delay the power of eternity? When pupil and teacher come together, a teaching learning situation begins. For the teacher is not really the one who does the teaching. God's teacher speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. The relationship is holy because of that purpose, and God has promised to send his spirit into any holy relationship. In the teaching learning situation, each one learns that giving and receiving are the same. The demarcations they have drawn between their roles, their minds, their bodies, their needs, their interests, and all the differences they thought separated them from one another fade and grow dim and disappear. Those who would learn the same course share one interest and one goal. And thus, he who was the learner becomes a teacher of God himself, for he has made the one decision that gave his teacher to him. He has seen in another person the same interests as his own.
It's just that that life, that last line. Well, she basically does. She gives you the Course in Miracles right there, because she gives you the introduction. She practically quotes the introduction where she says, the course does not aim at teach. Okay, for that is it does aim, however, removing the blocks of the awareness of love's presence, which are natural. Okay, here it is. The course. I read this every week. So it's like, the Course in Miracles is a required course, and only the time that you take it is voluntary. Free will doesn't mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can establish what you want to take at a given time. That is in like the second to the last paragraph. That's the second to the last paragraph of the introduction to the thing. So she's, there's, and so in the end, and we will get to this. This is my favorite poem from A Course in Miracles, where she says in the teacher's prayer that all of us are walking to God together. In this, when we all wake up, we're all helping we're all like doing this together. We're doing that Red Rover thing, you know, where we stand in the field and, you know, and you bring everybody, and you win by the amount of people that you win by having everybody on your team. So I just think that's really lovely. My little Red Rover metaphor there for teaching and learning. So I did have a good time with this, as I know, as I do. The pupils have been assigned. So, you know, she goes, so, you know, the pupils have been assigned. So we're not choosing any of this. I love this. It's the idea of saying yes. This saying yes to your life, to having what you want. Yolanda has a very good sense of mantras that we sing around this house. I love myself. I forgive myself. I can have what I want. You know, I choose peace and I choose joy. That's a way of being, you know, and it's a choice. And she contrasts teachers and students in this first paragraph, and she kind of lists the qualities. She goes, pupils will be assigned to teachers, but they're chosen according to their level of understanding and the form that the teacher teaches. I love that. So we're brought together by levels and forms. You know, so the pupils have been waiting. A teacher is certain. We don't choose teachers. We don't choose students. The only thing that is required, the things that we share in common with teachers in all the world is, are you ready to learn? You know, and that's what that's what they say in kindergarten. You know, when you go into the thing, you take your kid to the first kindergarten class. Because I remember my first kindergarten class with Mrs. Horn. She says, and above her desk was, "Are you ready to learn?"
How cute.
You know, so to me, this is just so joyous. Are you ready to learn? Let's do this.
Glenn, I love that you remember your first day of kindergarten. Oh my goodness. That's so sweet. And Ms. Warren. Yeah.
Horn, H-O-R-N. Ms. Horn.
Yes, Ms. Horn.
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. You know, everybody doesn't remember their first day. Well, welcome to my brain. This is my brain on A Course in Miracles. So the teacher only answers the call. See, we're both this idea of this call again. We're answering the call. The teacher has the call. I call this siren. Everybody hears it, but few are answering it. You know, so the teachers and the students are answering this call. So we're both like going, man, that sound, what's going on? And everybody else is going, I don't hear anything. What do you mean? I don't hear anything. And we're going like, jeez, oh my God, if you're like me, you know.
That's great.
So you find the people that are holding their hands over their ears. It's like, or like trying to, like, we're both heading in that heading in that direction. You know, that's who we're looking for. We really are. So this is and so the teacher teaches the universal curriculum in the form that that attracts the students that will learn by that form. So I teach the Course in Miracles, I teach the universal curriculum or whatever it is in the form that some people, the students who've been assigned to me, and I believe you me, I'm a student that's been assigned to somebody else. It's not a one way. Yeah. Right. Yolanda says, I'm the teacher in this relationship and he's the student. So it's this readiness to learn, and it's only a matter of time. And then she really starts to say, it's only a matter of time before you make this decision. And then she goes right into time. It's necessary to grasp the concept of time for this learning experience, this teaching learning plan of salvation, right? teaching and see, now we have a teaching and learning plan. You know, like Mrs. Horn and her curriculum. She opens up the thing and she has the curriculum, you know, she knows what's going on here. It's to correct illusion. It's let's say things you just don't, you're getting things wrong and you're stubbing your toe or whatever like that. And that's not a lot what it's like. You need to learn how to like eat with the spoon, you know, all these things that you're trying to learn how to do to like live in this world properly. So this is the correction of illusions because the truth needs no correction. And what I loved about this, or the way I'm beginning to understand this, and I haven't looked at this in a while and was so grateful to do this, was this concept of time is kind of like a thought experiment. The separation never was. Now, God answered it once and it was like, I already told you. And he goes, but what if, but it looks like we're separate, but you're not. But it looks that way, but you're not. But it looks that way. You know, this is the whole thing. So we're insisting on this material thing. We're just insisting on having this thought experiment. And God's going to be like, okay.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, Leo, okay. You know, and I was quite relieved. Separation never was. Separation never happened. It's my thing to do. It's my choice to, you know, do material stuff and learn this way or have a form and all of this. So it's, and she says this in other places, this is all supposed to be fun. This is all supposed to be joyous. And she even calls it in another place, a tiny mad idea, you know, not angry, but like mad.
Yeah, what do they call that when you go, mad money? You go just buy something just for the heck of it. Yeah.
Okay. My mother gave my sister mad money whenever she went on a date, so she didn't have to rely on this person to take her home. Solidarity with women's safety. We're living in this delicious, artful thought experiment that feels safe and feels like I could take risks. It sounds more like what they talk about in Hinduism as Leela, the play, you know, or Maya, the grand illusion. Maya is a dancer. I mean, she's a beautiful, she's got a demon head, but she's got the
rest of her's great.
She's stacked. She's got a rack out to here. You know, she's wow. And she's a dancer, you know. So that's, but what were we going to say?
I just want to point out that NTI also says that the process of creation or love, the process of creation that we are, was a process made for joy.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. So the world of time is a world of illusion. That's not a negative or a positive, right? That's just the way it is. So we can work with that, and it's me working against it that I need to learn not to do, you know? So she says, you're free to choose the curriculum, just like it says in the introduction. We live in a world where we don't live, but we have the experiences in this world of time. And this thought, this learning and this learning, teaching learning experiment, this thought experiment, this separation experiment for teachers, it's to teach what is true in the midst of all that. And the pupil, all the pupil gets to do is choose the order. You know, you don't get to choose the teacher, you don't get to choose the lesson, you don't get to choose the curriculum, but you do get to choose the order. And this teacher is, you don't get to choose the curriculum, you don't get to choose the order, and you don't get to choose the pupils. If you're a teacher, you don't get to choose the students, you don't get to choose the lessons, and you don't get to choose the order that you teach. So aren't I let off the hook that way? Doesn't that leave me a lot less responsible for, like, I don't fixing people? You know, it helps me not reach out and fix people and struggle to change people's minds and things like that. It helps me with that. So she goes on and says that in the next paragraph, an instant that is relived again and again and still now, and it seems to be now. We do another plug for Jacqueline's something. What's the show after?
Something genuine.
Something genuine. Remember, we talked about 3 weeks ago. Yolanda and I are still talking about that TED Talk about ruminating. You know, about like these habitual negative thoughts or experiences or something that happened that didn't turn out the way you want to, and you just cannot get the groove out of your head. When it just sounds like that, an instant that is relived again and again and again and again, that is not true. And it seems to be now, because our heart's racing now again, and we've got our blood pressure up, and it's all seems to be happening now. So what does the teacher say? Time requires a belief in separation. This suffering is only the desire to live in the past again and again, to live in illusion again and again and again. And she says that you don't have to, because the decision not to do this was made a long time ago, and you were there.
Yeah.
So that implies that we're very ancient people. We're ancient souls. And that's what I say in other places is, can we learn to identify ourselves with eternity, with what is eternal, have an identity that's in eternity instead of in this time, which basically is the measure of what decays. And that's just what time is. We're all moving toward entropy, and it breaks down into its more natural elements, and then those elements are gathered up again in some other form. So the form isn't important. And that's what he says. You're going to teach in the form that your pupils need to hear it in. So I think it's really important, again, in this teacher-pupil relationship. They come at the right time and they come at the right place. And the choice that they're making is in answering the call. We have very few choices other than to say, yes, I want to be who I am. Very, very little choice and that's the only thing we're going to be satisfied with. It should be easy, but there's so much in the hegemony that says it can't be possible. This rumination idea of the suffering over and over and over again. It's supposed to be an artful thought experience. And she says, and I enjoyed this, we giggled about this, everything but just seems to take time in the working out. It's already been worked out. It's already been worked out. See, I'm a Taurus and a planner and a spreadsheet junkie, or, jockey. So I want to plan. I want to have columns and things need to add up,
We're aware of that about you, Glenn.
Are you?
We got it.
So it just takes time in the working out. This time working it out, it drives me insane. So the idea that it's already worked out and that I can spend less time trying to take apart the machine and understand the machine, or understand the workings and the processes, and get to living, that I don't have to, concern myself with the machine and the doing, like beating my heart or breathing my lungs,
right,
is a really good, it's like, this was so relaxing to me, relaxing into being a pupil, relaxing into being, I'm that relaxing, being instructed kind of thing. Because I'm one of those people who loved school. This is about a coming together. This is about the teaching learning situation, in contrast to the hopeless and closed learning situation from last week. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So the teaching and learning situation hires directly from the open and closed learning situation. And that's ruminating, this ruminating in this false world, in this false idea of ourselves, trying to force or control or things like that. And that's hopeless and closed. So we in this learning, teaching situation, And so again, she brings up the first stage, the first law of awakening, the first phase of awakening, I call it, or the first lesson of the Holy Spirit, is that giving and receiving are the same thing. And I don't know about you, but for a Western mind, I think that's probably one of the most difficult things for a Western mind to get. And it is a central core of, I think, understanding how time works and what reality is and what a human being is, what love is, and what we have to offer, and what responsibility we have in the world as having existence. That's part of a responsibility. So she contrasts the teacher and the pupil again to wrap things up. And she says the teacher is not really teaching. The teacher is joined for learning just like the students.
Yes.
If you're doing it well, the differences, or you understand, or you're, this is moving forward, the differences between the teacher and the pupil disappear because we share one interest to know God or one's true nature. And the teacher becomes a teacher of God, the teacher of herself.
Yes.
What I know to be, my experience, my form is teaching this. My experience is teaching this. And the pupil says, I'm joined for learning. I want differences to appear. I want to learn this course. I share one interest with you. I share one goal. I want to be a teacher of God. It's like, it's directional, it's intentional, it's a mindset, it's beginner's mind on steroids. I mean, we talk about the teacher being, having a lot of responsibility. There's just as much responsibility in the pupil to take the teaching and to work with it or to use it. Because I don't know about you, but I've been taught things over and over and over again and didn't hear them until I could, until I heard them.
Yeah.
So how many teachers were patient with me, right? Before I learned the next thing,
Thank
very,
goodness.
very patient. I've been, so thank you to all the teachers who have allowed me to be their students. And I'm here to tell you that this teaching learning setup that she sets up here, I think is the scaffolding for the most healthy relationships you can have. And I don't care what relationships they are. If you understand the teaching and learning relationship outside of time, there is no level of intimacy, my personal opinion, there is no level of intimacy between two people that cannot be achieved in this structure of a teaching and learning environment, in which you come together to learn what God has to do and spirit enters. Yes. That's the whole thing. Create the condition for spirit to enter. A teacher who's answered the call, a student has answered the call, and they both decide, we want to learn what is true. And spirit descends and the whole thing transforms into it truly itself, an expression of our truest nature. I don't want another me. I'm in my students and my people. I'm not trying to create a legion of Glens.
Thank you for that.
We're gonna march on the Capitol, the legion of Glens, and demand our, a republic of Glens or something. That's really, really not what I want. I want to live in a world where I can sit at the feet of the masters who walk the earth and be a master of what is mine to do.
Yes, beautiful.
So, what did you have to say?
Well, it seems like every time I prepare, it happens differently. So this week, I picked out, the sentences that I contemplated. So the sentences that jumped out at me, and then I wrote about those about those sentences. So in the first paragraph, she says, certain pupils have been assigned to each of God's teachers, and they will begin to look for him as soon as he has answered the call. Time waits. Hi, Glenda. Time waits on his choice, but not on whom he will serve. When he's ready to learn, the opportunities to teach will be provided for him. The potential for healing the one mind is always present. That is why the sole responsibility of the miracle worker is to accept the atonement for himself. Individual minds do not exist. Therefore, there are no individual minds that must be healed. The individual mind is an illusion. Therefore, it is in joining with a seeming other that oneness or recognition of unity of interest can begin to be perceived. The path home has been laid. When those who are best suited to learn this together come together, the journey home can begin. There must be a willingness on the part of the teacher student. And in writing this, I couldn't even separate them. I had to, one word with a slash in the middle, the teacher student. Yeah. There must be a willingness on the part of the teacher student to learn. For without this willingness, the mind is closed within its own loop of belief and experience. That's that closed, hopeless and closed learning situation we talked about. Yeah, that you were just talking about. To see that all interests are one, the teacher student must begin to teach this belief, right? Teach outside of that, teach oneness rather than separation, bottom line.
It doesn't say you have to believe it.
Right, but you got to teach it. And then, yeah, right. Believing is seeing, yeah. So let's see, atonement, and then in the next paragraph, she says, atonement corrects illusions, not truth. Therefore, it corrects what never was. Further, the plan for this correction was established and completed simultaneously, for the will of God is entirely apart from time. The instant the idea of separation entered the mind of God's Son, in that same instant was God's answer given. And you talked about, what did you call it? This mind experiment. You called it a mind experiment a moment ago. Well, and I have similar information here. Of course, just as you said, just as we know, there was no separation, nor could there ever be. The tiny mad idea was a what if game that led to seemingly solid proof of separation that was believed and feared. What a lonely and desolate world was wrought that did not contain the thought of God, the absolute, indeed bliss itself. Because one can never be not one, the what if game remained a game. You know, you couldn't make separation, you can't make separation real because one cannot not be one, right? Mm-hmm. But what fun is a game without suspension of disbelief? We've been given the tools to, right? We've been given the tools to keep this game going within a measurement of being that itself cannot exist without the idea or the belief in separation, right? So again, you got, even though it couldn't possibly be made true, you gotta throw all that out the window if you're gonna have fun playing this game. You gotta really be able to believe it. Mm-hmm. Let's see, beingness cannot be separated into the increments of time any more than it can be split into the increments of space. And I really appreciated that. This time thing is dependent. I mean, this separation thing is dependent on time. You have to be able to separate it. That's just the way the game is played. Without that, the game wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so time is part of the illusion that forms the game. Then let's see, Helen, Jesus says, the world of time is the world of illusion. What happened long ago seems to be happening now. Choices made long since appear to be open, yet to be made. What, and I've read that sentence twice and I've read it wrong each time I've read it. And basically it's like that choice has already been made. It appears to be open, but the choice has already been made. That's what the sentence is trying to say there. What has been learned and understood and long ago passed by is looked upon as a new thought, a fresh idea, a different approach. Because your will is free, you can accept what has already happened at any time you choose, and only then will you realize that it was always there. You are free, however, to decide when you want to learn the curriculum. And as you accept it, it is already learned. Of course, I'm reading from her there. So here's the comments that I want to make on that. Within this game of time and space, we seem to have the choice to stay and play a while longer or to end the game immediately. While time and space appear within the bounds or rules of the game, let's see. I'm trying to read my own notes here. Oh, okay. Within the bounds or rules of the game, time and space appear to need to be undone. Right? This is like it's something we need to back out of, right? We moved into it, now we need to back out. So within the game itself, that's what seems to need to be done. However, what was never done can hardly need undoing.
Yeah. Why spend that's the machine? It's like, why spend all this time trying to learn the mechanics of all of this? It's like, yeah.
Right. And that's why, even though it seems like, I need to do purification and go whatever these trials and tribulations are and have this long learning experience, the choice is actually immediate. I can immediately oh yeah, that's right, this was a game, right?
I know people who learned lessons a lot easier than I did.
Yeah, most people
and
did
faster.
Yeah. Lots. Let's see. So yeah, so what was never done can hardly need undoing. When the game is seen through, it's a zero-sum game. It's one or the other. It's one or the other. One either chooses to stay and play some more, even choosing to engage in undoing. So even the path to awakening, even being a spiritual student, guess what? That's part of the game. Or you can stay and play that game, or you can accept what has always been true. Separation is the antithesis. Separation is the antithesis of the truth. The Son of God has never and could never be separate, even if he truly wished to experience himself this way, which is, what we're doing, but it's, he can't actually be done. She says in paragraph 4, because it is an instant that is relived, let me read the first sentence to put it in context. Time really then goes backward to an instant so ancient that it is beyond all memory and past even the possibility of remembering. Yet, because it is an instant that is relived again and again and still again, it seems to be now. Because all of life is merely an emanation of source, of the one, the decision to seem to experience separation must be kept alive. You've got to keep, pumping source into it. It cannot live of its own accord. It is kept alive by the continued desire to forget. In the forgetting is time maintained. But still, none of this makes the game reality. But boy, are we experiencing it that way.
It's so generous. So
yeah, thanks a lot, right? And then of course, the last paragraph is just gorgeous, and I'm going to read it again. This is paragraph 5. When pupil and teacher come together, a teaching learning situation begins. For the teacher is not really the one who does the teaching. God's teacher speaks to any two who join together for learning purposes. The relationship is holy because of that purpose, and God has promised to send his spirit into any holy relationship. In the teaching learning situation, each one learns that giving and receiving are the same. The demarcations they've drawn between their roles, their minds, their bodies, their needs, their interests, and all the differences they thought separated them from one another fade and grow dim and disappear. Those who would learn the same course share one interest and one goal, and thus he who is a learner becomes a teacher of God himself, for he has made the one decision that gave his teacher to him. He has seen in another person the same interest as his own. And of course, that's what we read last week when we said, what's a teacher of God? And it's like anybody who at any time, anywhere has seen in another person the same interest as his own. So by becoming a student, the student does that. And guess what? So they become a teacher of God as well. Wisdom says, the teacher does not really do the teaching because neither the teacher nor the student actually exist. The one mind teaches itself through the characters made up to teach an illusion. right? The characters were made up to teach the illusion. The one mind, though, will use those characters. And of course, Course in Miracles told us that, right? That Holy Spirit will use what ego has made. But again, the one mind teaches itself through the characters made up to teach an illusion. The one mind uses the seemingly separate body minds to teach its message, because that is how the game was set up. What the one mind teaches is that these two do not exist as separate entities. All that follows on the premise that separation could be so goes. Okay, yeah. So that's the fundamental belief. This is the idea. So when you give up that belief that here's a body, there's a body, they're two separate things, all that follows on that also is released. So in Inner Wisdom's word, all that follows on the premise that separation could be so goes as the fundamental belief in separate body minds is released. When the supposed teacher and the supposed learner come together, they do so only because they believe that to learn the truth is a common interest. In making that decision, the journey has begun. The light begins to dawn within the seemingly separate mind of the learner, as it is already done in the teacher. So, you know, so you got to, in visuals, you got a beacon shining here, and then this beacon turns on, and then, you know, the light, you know, becomes one contiguous piece.
You recognize the light in each other. You just like are namasteing all over the place. You know?
That's right. That's right. And you know, and of course, the folly of it is none of this really needs to be done. It doesn't need to be done, because you can't unmake oneness, right? So the only reason to even bother doing this would have to be joy, would have to be for the experience of joy in this seeming separate illusion that I'm having, this dream that I'm having. That could be the only purpose for even bothering to be on the path, because the one doesn't need to be awakened. The one is awake.
Yeah, she says if you've accepted the atonement, you know joy. But if you have not accepted the atonement, then you have trouble experiencing oneness. You know. Yeah,
because you're in my way.
The belief in, I mean, I hear the world I live. I mean, the world I live in, employee health benefits and pensions and things like that. It's like competition. Yeah. You know, it is like the pension fund against the bank, the pension fund against the investors, the pension fund. You know, it's like the managing the getting the healthcare out and business and means testing and all this stuff, all these conditions placed on good or love or benefit or this. And so she said, if you want to live in a world in which you have everything that you need, you have to not only act like you have everything you need, you have to teach and live as if you have everything that you need to take the next step forward.
Well, yes, and you know, when I spoke Wednesday, I talked about the 3 fundamentals of A Course in Miracles, and that was certainly one of them. It was learning the difference between what we think we are and what we are, and what we think we are is lacking, limited, capable of experiencing loss, and what we really are, and separate, and what we really are is everything. It's absolutely impossible that we could ever experience lack. And how can one thing experience lack of that one thing? It's impossible. So when we fall into this belief that we're not one thing, then, you know, then you gotta like go get yours before they get theirs, right? There's 2 things, and we're both going for the same goal, right? So
that's good. So we come together in shared interests.
The shared interest is waking the hell up, so we don't have to continue to fight each other.
So I want to wake up. I make this choice when I bottom out. You know, I make this choice because everything I know or everything I've taught myself isn't working anymore. And then I'm willing to become a pupil. It was like, I obviously don't know.
You know, Glenn, it never worked. It never worked. There was always this idea that one of these great days it's going to work when I finally get this or learn that or
I know.
master. It's never worked, ever.
Yeah, for me, it's been initials after my name, and I have a few, and it's been commas in a bank account. So between commas in a bank account, degrees and accolades and little letters I can put after my name, you know.
Yeah. And what did that get you? Same
Right
thing it got
here.
me. What'd you say?
Right here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's, you
And-
really do find, you know, money doesn't buy happiness. Letters after your name doesn't buy happiness. It's, you know, everybody on the planet is seeking happiness.
I know.
But
What
we're
is-
not going to get it that way.
No, so what is it tells me how can I align my interests with yours? Because we're only talking about different forms, right? Because if we're all on the same path, if you know, in the Southern Baptist churches, we say we're all going home.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
So in this, we're all going home. How our common interest is what we're trying to. It's like how we do this form, how we come together, how we decide to create this community, how I can physically use these things at the end of my arms to support you in relieving this Maslow's hierarchy works, you know.
And you can only do that by truly recognizing that your interests are joined, that there is only one contiguous being that is. Because the minute you see a me and a you, all bets are off.
Right.
I mean,
you have countries, counties, genders.
Yeah.
You have all this. I mean, now it's conflict, and it's like not only I can't have what I want because I'm so broken and little and flawed. You're actively working at making the idea is that somebody else is actively working against my happiness.
Right.
And so that means I have to. I was like, now you got it. Now we're
talk about a closed loop, right?
Yeah. Welcome to the hopeless and closed learning situation. Now, may I help you? You know,
Yep.
I want to be in that teaching and learning situation. You know, I would rather when I get upset, I'd rather my brain say teaching and learning situation. How can I help? Rather than
hopeless and closed.
Hopeless and closed learning situation. The mindset that we get ourselves in, am I willing to learn, is really a default for me. Am I going to absorb the information of this lesson that's right in front of me?
And am I going to learn against what I think that I've come to learn in the past 59 years?
Everything open for question. Is everything on the table? Really, every one of my beliefs is on the table. There is, and Yolanda will tell this as well. Because there's no precious beliefs for me. I want the truth, and I'm going to experiment, and I'm going to act on what I know is true and what I'm told is true, and I'm going to be able to prove it's true, which is why you get this tone in my voice, because I've done it. I know that this works. Nobody can convince me that it's not interesting to be me. Nobody's can tell me that it's not absolutely glorious to be at this time in this place, in this, it's just, you can't talk me out of being interested in finding out what's going to happen.
Well, and Inner Wisdom said, what a desolate place this is without the
Oh, I know.
Right?
People live in a desolate place. Oh, turn on the TV. Let me read this last little bit, my little conclusion here. Saying yes to the call to awaken and experience reality puts us in two types of relationships. One in which we are the teachers, and one in which we are the pupils. We do not choose our teachers, nor do we choose our students. Only the form of the universal curriculum. Truth and light are in all forms of teaching and the nature of reality. We come together and spirit enters, and we are greater than we knew. We step out of time and into the present with all that is. You and me in the teaching and learning dance, our partners in this dance, continually await our arrival.
Sweet,
Yeah.
sweet. Reminds me of that song, Dance Me to the End of Love.
Oh,
Sweet.
I do love that. Thank you for another wonderful evening.
Thank you all. It's been great to be here. Thanks for being here with us.
It's an honor.
The honor's mine.
You've
Outro,
been
Glenn.
listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.
I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
Have a great week, everybody.
Bye, everybody.